Yesterday's body count lottery rounded out to a solid and sturdy 30. 10 out of Haywood, thanks to unabated gang wars. One officer down, so I guess you're all screwed, cause the NCPD will not let that go. Got another blackout in Santo Domingo. Netrunners are at it again, poking holes in the power grid. While over in Westbrook, trauma teams scraping cyber psycho victims off the pavement. And in Pacifica, well, Pacifica is still Pacifica.
Great thing, as this game is geared towards computers of the set for ray traced graphics. But before I do that, I need to describe my method, preferring quality over performance at 4K DLSS in performance mode. So in here, this option gave a lot of performance back when going from ultra to high, performance is increased by 4%. Ultra to percent. This is silly because at 4K, Psycho Reflections on this GPU recommend and low is low, you do complex, which versions on the spotting here and setting. The medium by 12 for the clouds, minimal for the performance potentially gained. The same principle applies to volumetric clouds. Here, the clouds look shot by after this option multiple shots. Yet going from high to medium increases performance by around 3%, for example, in this shot. So an easy win in my book for optimized settings. After this, there are a whole host of visual options that do not greatly affect GPU performance, yet have a negative visual feedback. Local shadow quality. Here the game is already using shadows of a middling quality, I would say, at the highest settings. So reducing their resolution further with this option negatively impacts immersion for me. Here the GPU cost between them all is very flat, so high is my recommended setting for this option. This performance characteristic applies to the local shadow mesh quality setting as well, where there's scarcely a difference in GPU performance, but also scarcely a visual difference. Here I also recommend the high setting. The three settings controlling outdoor shadow maps work much like those for local lights. Here the Cascaded Shadow Resolution option controls the resolution of the real-time shadow map in front of the player character from the sun and moon. Here I find the low option visually unappealing, with the medium reaching my threshold for acceptability and high increase in project which the real-time Cascade low as third shadow, and even kind of low resolution, minimal different quality as many lights use, followed up by the rest we have GPU related. It will affect the half-life or the amount of decals on screen, rather, which in my comparisons has next to no performance costs in areas where I thought I would and draw. Or you have the objects at a distance, yet in multiple test scenes and even after reloading the game, I didn't see any real in looking at the wrong area. Here is performance differences when where it matters most. The last grouping of settings requiring optimization are those that change depending upon your internal volumetric fog, decreasing edge aliasing like you can see on this light here, and making it more stable should the camera move. Like I mentioned, this setting is tied to your internal resolution, so medium at 1080p will look a lot different and more aliased than medium at 4K. Using the 4K numbers here, ultra to high increases performance by 2%, ultra to medium by 10%, and ultra to low by that same 10%. Here my recommended settings will depend on your internal resolution. So if you're using 1080p DLSS in quality mode, your game is actually running at 720p internally. So you always have to think in terms of your 1080p or lower. If it is 4K, then your internal resolution. Looking at it in DLSS at 4K with an internal 1080p resolution, very rare. So by 30 rare, it increases performance by 24%. Moment, so a lower high setting at 1080 post processing, actually like them. For this game, I think depth of field, motion blur, regarding image quality options, one of the first things I would like to report here is that currently the dynamic resolution scaling is not working like at 60 FPS point, where res would drop no further beyond this, while turning in heat sync for some reason is lower resolution. So the have the mini that both is not required for either, yet the RTX other than other effects sharpening plus upscaling. And here, fidelity performance mode is actually running it even a little bit better. If you look, DLSS is actually reconstructing the image, making it look much higher resolution like 4K. Well, the fidelity of setting for non-ray traced optimized settings. This is the entire list of them, as I see it, with some variation depending upon your chosen internal resolution. All in all, in a completely GPU-bound scenario, at native 4K, the optimized settings I have made in the scenes such as this can save 35% performance versus the Ultra preset, or around 5 milliseconds of GPU rendering time being shaved off in total. And I say it doesn't look that much worse. Good savings while retaining the primary quality. Now on to ray traced optimized settings building off of these ones. For ray tracing at the moment, I'm only generating these settings for the performance scaling I would see on an NVIDIA GPU. AMD GPUs will probably scale very differently. Also, I will be displaying the ray trace settings individually here. So when I show ray trace reflections like here in this example, it is ray by around 3 to 4%.
Hey everyone, feels great to have you back. So then, did y'all hear about that Arasaka aircraft carrier docked in Night City called Kujira, or the Whale? Apparently the Corp figured it wasn't safe in Japanese waters.
It's killing me lately. Got all these red bumps sprouting too.
Go digging your petrochem trash. Kid, it's all radioactive. I know they toss good shit, but it ain't worth it. I mean, unless you've been saving up some new bone marrow.
More like a goddamn death sentence.